In manufacturing, you've really got two choices when it comes to quality. You can be the firefighter, always running around, putting out fires, and dealing with problems after they've already happened. Or you can be the architect and design a system that's so solid, so flawless, that the fires never even start. Today, we're going to break down how the smartest companies are making that exact shift, turning quality from a headache into their single biggest advantage. But first, you have to ask yourself this one simple question. Because the answer, it's almost always way, way more than you think. See, a single mistake isn't just one problem. It's the start of a chain reaction, a cascade of hidden costs that begins with the most obvious one. Rework, yup. The time, the materials, the labor you have to spend fixing something that should have been done right the first time, it's the immediate bill that comes due the second a mistake is made. Then there's the waste. We're talking about scrapped parts, wasted energy, all those resources you just have to throw away. Every single defect is value that you literally created and then tossed in the bin. That's a direct hit to your bottom line. And it doesn't stop there, not even close. Quality problems cause delays, they absolutely torpedo your production schedules, they mess up your deliveries, and they create bottlenecks that just ripple through the entire operation, slowing everybody down. But here it is, the final, most devastating cost of all, lost customers. Because when a bad product actually reaches the person paying for it, it doesn't just annoy them, it destroys their trust. And in today's world, that trust is everything. It's the whole ballgame. This is why we need a totally new way of thinking. It's all about moving from being reactive to being proactive. And this isn't just some small tweak, okay? This is a completely different philosophy on how to run a business. So the old way is quality control, or QC. I want you to think of QC as the detective. They show up at the crime scene after everything's gone wrong. They're there to inspect the damage, find the defects, and figure out what happened. It's necessary, sure, but it's always looking backward. The new way, that's quality assurance, or QA. Now, QA is the architect. Instead of finding problems, the architect designs a system, a blueprint, where those problems are just incredibly unlikely to happen in the first place. It's all about building quality in from the ground up. And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just night and day. The reactive approach, it's focused on detection, on the final product. You're trying to inspect quality into a finished part. But the proactive approach is all about prevention. It focuses on the process itself to build quality in from the very first step. You know, in the world of modern development, this whole idea has a really cool name, shift-left testing. The concept is so simple but so powerful. You take all those quality checks that used to happen at the very end of the line, and you literally shift them all the way to the left, right to the beginning of the design process. Now, making this shift isn't about just hoping for the best. It's about having a system. And the engine that really drives this whole proactive approach is a process called CAPA, which stands for Corrective and Preventative Action, and its best friend, Root Cause Analysis.
So, CAPA is your formal game plan. It's a structured way to not just investigate and solve problems, but, and this is the critical part, to make sure they can never, ever happen again. It's the system that turns every mistake you make into a permanent lesson learned.
At the heart of CAPA is this four-step process. First, you define the problem with razor-sharp precision. Not the symptom, the actual problem. Second, you have to dig, and I mean really dig, until you find the true root cause. Then you put actions in place that fix that root cause, not just patch the surface. And finally, step 4, you have to go back and verify that your solution actually worked and the problem is gone for good. But even fixing errors perfectly is still, a reaction. The real goal, the next level, is to design your processes so that making an error is almost impossible in the first place. And to do that, you need a more advanced toolkit. A huge tool here is FMEA. That's Failure Mode and Effects Analysis. This thing is basically a crystal ball for engineers. It's a structured way to look at a design and ask, okay, what are all the ways this thing could possibly fail? What would happen if it did? And what can we do to stop it? You do all of this before you've even made a single part. It's amazing. And then there's this absolutely brilliant concept called Poka-Yoke. It's a Japanese term, and it literally just means mistake-proofing. The whole idea is to design a process or a part in a way that physically makes it impossible to make a mistake. And once you know what to look for, you see Poka-Yoke everywhere. I mean, think about it. A USB plug that only fits in one way? That's Poka-Yoke. Your car not starting unless it's in park? That's Poka-Yoke. The microwave stopping the second you open the door? You guessed it, Poka-Yoke. There are all these simple, elegant design choices that make doing the wrong thing impossible. Okay, so we've got all these systems, these philosophies, these tools. What's the bottom line? What's the big payoff? How does all this effort actually pay the bills and give you that strategic edge we talked about? Well, the best way to see it is with something called the PAF model. It breaks down the total cost of quality into 4 buckets. You've got good costs, prevention, which is the money you spend to stop problems, and appraisal, which is for inspections. And then you have the bad costs, internal failures, caught inside the factory, and external failures, the really bad ones that get to your customer. And here, right here, is the $1 million strategy. On the left, you see the old way, a huge, costly mess of failure costs. The winning move is to take a small amount of that money and intelligently invest it in prevention. And when you do that, look what happens. The failure costs just collapse. You spend a little more upfront to save an absolute fortune down the road. And that brings us to this legendary quote from the quality guru, Philip Crosby. Quality is free. Now, what does he mean by that? It's not a gift. It doesn't cost nothing. It's free because every single dollar you wisely invest in preventing problems pays for itself over and over and over again by wiping out those massive downstream costs of failure. That's how you stop being a firefighter and truly become the architect of a flawless operation.